Jeff from Two Hacks Garage. Well, I'm on location at 150 Speed Shop. Our good friend Mike, this is one of his buildings, and he set up a really cool area to work on two projects we have going on. Last week we showed you Project Double Secret Probation. That one right there is, we have something really cool planned with it. Mike and his wife are doing it for something very special. That's the engine this engine is one going to be built for that. This one here is the one that we just pulled out yesterday that we talked about not having a name for. Well, we do have a name for it, and that's Project Thumper. So this is Project Double Secret Probation, which we'll name at a later time what it's for, and Project Thumper. This is a Gen 3 and this is a Gen 4. Some of the noticeable difference on these is the knock sensors on these. If you look here on the Gen 3, they're on top, and with the Gen 4, you actually don't see anything in this valley pan that has that. It's because they're on the sides. Also, one of the noticeable difference on these two is the cam sensor. On these, they go in back, and for these, they're in front, actually right there. So there is differences between the Gen 3 and Gen 4, and one of the major differences between these two is the heads. This has the 706, and this has the very desirable 243s. And as we get into these, we'll explain more to that. I did talk about this being somewhat like of that budget build. Well, we're actually going to take it up a little bit notch more on that. A little bit of miscommunication on my part. This is actually going to be built very, very good, and we're going to go through everything. We don't know exactly what's going to need to be done with the internals yet. Like I said, we got to tear it down, and same thing with this one. So today what we're going to do in Two Hacks Garage is we're going to tear down the engine for Double Secret Probation and also Project Thumper. We need to get visual inspections to see how deep we need to go with these before we make our next moves. But with that, guys, there's a whole bunch of people waiting on me to get to work. We got to set up. John's here to do some of that fancy cinematography. So I tell you what, guys, let's get ripping on it. See you in a few. Well, that was a really productive day. We got both of these engines tore down. Like I said, the one that Mike and his wife are doing for a special event, which is Project Double Secret Probation. That's the Gen 3. And the one for Project Thumper, that 1989 OBS that Mike is going to do next for a daily driver, that one's a Gen 4. We also got that tore down. And we actually tore these down to bare blocks, every plug, everything out of them. The reason we did that is we wanted to make sure we inspect everything, all the bearings, the crank, the pistons, you name it. So the one thing that we did find on the Gen 3, looked like a little bit of junk got shoved through, possibly the oil pump, and it did nick up some of the bearings, but the crank is okay. We are, however, going to polish that crank out, make it nice and new, put some new bearings in this. We are going to check bore taper, but actually there's no ridge in these cylinders here, and you can actually still see cross-hatching. So most likely, if the taper's fine with it, we're just going to end up dingle ball honing it and getting some new rings and putting the stock factory pistons back in it. We are also on both these engines going to use the factory intake manifolds. So yeah, this one is actually pretty clean. It looked really nice. Probably go with new push rods. We did find some that had the fisheye on both of these, but the rockers itself, they looked pretty good. So we'll end up reusing those too. On the Gen 4 engine here, this is the DOD motor. I'm going to have Mike explain that here in a minute. Same thing, no ridge on the cylinders, lots of good cross hatching. It'll get new bearings, it'll get new rings, dingle ball, everything cleaned up. In fact, we're going to take these to Jimmy's and have them hot tanked after we do our initial cleaning. The crank on this and the bearings looked really, really good. Seeing it's out, we're going to go ahead and polish it, put a new set of bearings in it, new rings, call it good to go. Both of these, like I said, stock intake manifolds, but they're going to get the similar recipes with the Texas Speed cams and better oil pumps on these. Mike's got a little tips and tricks to, make those work just a little bit better. So yeah, as you can see today, it was just tear these down, a visual inspection, go over everything, see where we're at, and kind of plan our next steps. With that, Mike is very knowledgeable on these engines, and he found something very interesting with this engine here with the DOD.
So both these came apart really nice, very happy with them, minus this one had a little junk through the pump, but not a big deal. The DOD, you will have standard lifters, just like any other LS engine, and then you will have a spring portion on them. These generally fail when they come back from 4 or 6 cylinder into 8. They don't like to come back. This was a unique one. What we've got going here is a lifter that will not twist. This is bad. We had a lifter twisting. It actually chewed up the end of the roller and chewed up the cam a little bit. That's just another example as to why we want to replace those.
I'm going to show you this one real quick, a little bit up close, what he's talking about. These are factory roller engines, but if you can see here, see that right there? What he just explained is that in the lifter bore got turned and started chewing that up. That's no bueno, no good.
So with that, we had a good fun day on a Sunday. Everything came apart nice, looking good. My wife and I got a super special project here, and Mike has got another killer project thumper.
And these aren't going to be too far off from previous builds Mike has also done, and also the build that's in Micah's truck currently with Project 9194. It's a very solid, street-friendly, powerful, but yet efficient engine. And if you heard in previous videos, they do have a nice chop with the cam that's going in it. The thing is nice about these, like especially this one, since it is an E85 motor, there's a lot of possibilities down the road with this. And I know Mike, and he's got a couple really cool El Caminos doing other builds. And I got Micah to do a frame off on the truck. Maybe we go a little further down the road with this one, not sure. But for now, it's going to be that 400 to 425 horse range recipe. It's going to be great for that truck. It is going to be a daily. You're going to see a whole lot on that soon. So with that, today was double Secret Probation and also Project Thumper, teardown, initial inspections. And you know what? Overall, it's a pretty good day. We got a lot of cleaning to do, so we'll see you tomorrow. Later.